Let me just preface this with the fact that I'm not a videographer, an editor, an audio person, an actor, a voiceover guy. I have an affinity for black decaf coffee, Nicolas Cage, and bad Nintendo 64 games and videos. There will be cats, kids, and all kinds of other sounds and frustrations throughout the duration of this video. But I hope that those of you that have stuck around this far might give it a try. Without further ado, I give you the Super64 Experiment. Nick and I would also like to say I'm not a gamer, and I'm pretty terrible at most of the games that I demo. So, also they'll be done in single player format because that's the only bandwidth and time I have. Today I'm feeling... I'm always feeling bees! And then maybe a little happy, and then a little carefree. Alright, I'm not gonna waste any more time. Maybe 5 seconds more. We're gonna do the Super64 patio style. Check this out. So this is the Super64 cartridge. It's NTSC and PAL video, a little SD card inside. And no longer do you go to Blockbuster Video to rent your video games. They're all in there. Turn it on. So you have this list here. You just cycle through the pages. You can save. Everything is alphabetized. Pretty much every game released in the USA is available. Play to your heart's content. Hundreds of titles. I'm thinking we go Rampage 2, Universal Tour. Game loads. Time machine back to 1998. The Rampage titles were a great midway port and a lot of fun to play, especially if you had a couple of friends or family members over. There's definitely a recurring theme with N64 titles and multiplayer. It was just a richer experience when you could. Something interesting about this game is I think it only allows 3 players, so that 4th controller slot doesn't do you any good, but just a lot of fun. You don't need hours and hours to play Rampage, but you can definitely enjoy yourself. For the sake of time, I'm going to speed through the menus and the load screens just to get us into the action, because this video is going to get long otherwise. Let's cruise the USA. Yeah. Such a 90s era music there. Love it. Took me a little bit to warm up to the mechanics of this game. I was more of a Cruisin world man myself, but USA is the original title that kind of put 64 racing on the map, platform-wise. So, sped this up a little because you guys saw it working in real time and figured that's alright. Naturally, I would demo this one early because somehow, miraculously, I was able to pull this off. one take. So, Super Smash Brothers is another title loved by many, so thought I'd give that a shot. I was definitely rusty on this one. I think it set the stage for Melee, which came on the GameCube, and I don't really know the ones that came after that. Brawl, I guess a few of the others, but I think this one, both as a single and a multiplayer, was fun. A lot of memories with the multiplayer in particular. Fail. Mega owned. Take us back to the menu. OS is on. It's all built in there. I think I got a little click happy. What did I choose? Oh, this is a fan favorite anyway. Here's 007 Goldeneye. It plays just like the real deal. It's hard to see the difference. So I had to reshoot some of this footage. I don't know if that says something about the lighting that I had or more about the lighting on this particular level on this game. Goldeneye 64 was a fantastic single and multiplayer game. Sure, the graphics are a little dated, but I mean, compared to Duke Nukem, this was next level awesome, and it just holds up well. I still feel like you could bust this out at a party with some friends and have a really good time. And I mean, I didn't demonstrate any slappers when I was playing with this, but go slappers only, or the man with the golden gun. Activate paintball mode, do some of those things. Lots of good memories. I burned a lot of hours on this one as a kid, and certainly as a younger adult. Until I'm rusty here, but I think I had it on 00 agent settings, so bear with me. Yes, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I actually got an N64 for my 10th birthday, and it came with Episode 1 Racer, and I remember countless hours spent on this game. I feel like it still holds up well, so I don't know if I just love it because it was like my first game, or if it really is just that great. But I felt like there were a lot of levels, there were a lot of fun opportunities. Multiplayer was fun too. You could unlock new racers, you could upgrade your pod racing unit, and of course everybody wanted to get Sebulba because his character could cheat just like he does on the movie, but that was actually really hard, as I recall. It's definitely a Gascano man, and I like to use my boosters, as you see my engine catching fire here, so good. So Star Fox 64 is another one of those platform titles that really had a lot of popularity. I don't know that I ever owned a physical copy. I borrowed one from friends at times. But some of the extended cutscenes at the beginning were a little bit painful, so I've clipped some of those. pretty easy to control, easy to get into, I think, with the right people nearby, and maybe some harassing and taunting happening. It could be fun. I remember us making fun of the characters as they talked and chattered, especially Slippy. Poor Slippy. Rest his soul. I think Duke Nukem 64 was one of those games that was misunderstood. On some of the other consoles, it had some content that were more inappropriate. I haven't played it through on the 64 to vouch for that, but it plays fun. It feels like something you should be playing in an arcade in the mid-90s, and so to be able to do that in your bedroom at home definitely has a nice feel to it. So I wasn't very good, as you can see, but for all the sketchiness or all the negative press that this game often got, I think the 64 version was fairly innocent in comparison to some of the PC versions and others that had some Easter eggs that might not be quite so family friendly. I mean, look at this. Graphically, there was much to be desired. There were a couple of successors to this one on the 64, and the graphics did improve, but I do know at this time that these looked pretty good. I spent many an hour playing Mario Golf. I will admit Baby Mario is not my favorite character, but in the case of replaying the first hole here, I managed to stick it pretty good, so I was happy reliving some memories on Super Mario Golf 64. Don't ask me to do it again though, because there's no way I'd get a birdie. Still feel like this is one of the greater multiplayer games available on the platform. Many will ask why I would give this next title so much light of day, and I think it's just because I sort of feel sorry for it. I do actually still have a physical copy of this game from Titus, and I'm sorry. It just didn't redeem itself, back then or now. Yes, Superman still stinks. Just listen to my son in the background. Guess he was tortured. On the whole, I really wanted to like this. I remember buying a copy of this, and my sister and I tried really hard to figure out what to do. You go through the rings, you kind of got this radar thing to steer you along. And so far it's going pretty good, other than the screaming. He gets flying too fast, but you can tell they just rushed this game. So then he gets stuck here, and I couldn't figure out what to do, like to even make him fly again, which, if I'm having trouble, and I'm actually somebody that grew up playing games in this era, this is not a selling point for this game. Eventually I just got frustrated and shut it off, and I think that's what I did back when we got it the first time. So the emulated version didn't solve any problems, and I wasn't expecting it to, so sorry Superman, you still stink. So Pokemon Snap is one of those games that you either loved or hated. I don't remember being particularly fond of it, but it did feel like it was kind of a staple 64 title and one of those exclusive platform games, so. But yeah, mechanically, everything feels just like it did back in 1999. remember a childhood friend that lived in the neighborhood had this game, and I always wanted to be excited for Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, but it just never quite worked for me. I think some of it was the controls were a little bit confusing. Graphics looks pretty good. The idea of the game seems fun. But commentary-wise, maybe it's just the fact that when you would spend $59.99 on a video game, you felt obligated to like it. And one thing that I'll say the Super 64 has done is it's made me realize how many games are so similar, or how many are truly mediocre titles compared to some of their more popular releases. So, anyway, I still think this one holds up pretty good. It looks good, graphics are clean. Just wasn't my favorite. Wave Race 64, I believe, was one of the original games, if not released within the first year for sure, and it's pretty cool. But after about 4 or 5 minutes, I've usually had enough, so I kind of feel that way with a lot of these games on the 64, unfortunately. Definitely brings back a lot of great memories, though. The handling and the mechanics are pretty good. I mean, sometimes it feels like to me that this thing's moving so fast that it's hard to really control it as easily as you could in real life. Maybe that's one of the limitations of programming back in the mid-90s. But anyways, it was fun. Sports games are one of those things that are very subjective to the individual. I feel like with Slugfest, it definitely made the home run derby fun. Mechanics were a little confusing. I kind of prefer All-Star Baseball franchise from Acclaim Sports. But the graphics on this one are pretty good. Maybe I should have just played as Ken Griffey. Andre Scalaraga didn't have what it took. So I know The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is one of those games that
gets me thinking,
people love.
how much did
it's like the quintessential
they power up Ken Griffey's
64
stats
title that's lived
seriously?
Because I mean, one of the things
If he
that
hits a
really
home run
annoyed
every
me
time, it
was
looks like
all
he's cheating,
these
but he was
conversation
that
and
good.
video
This guy was epic.
cutscenes. Felt like you were stuck having to watch a whole lot more than actually get to play, at least at the beginning. And I would say that's one critique I have on a number of 64's earlier titles. Seems like they kind of figured out that people wanted to skip past a lot of this. So as a storyteller, I appreciate wanting to reveal the story as you go, but man, some of this is showing its age. Anyway, still a classic. Hopefully no one's too offended. I feel like with 1080 snowboarding, there was a huge excitement from Nintendo fans. Kind of brought the arcade experience into the home console, and that was really cool. Sound and graphics, everything else, all a lot of fun.
hit menus, everything just showcased what the 64 was best at, and kudos to the developers for this one. Playability wise, I got into it, and I never played a lot as a youngster, but I just found myself thinking, like, if I was at the arcade, this is one of those games that I would probably put a few quarters in, play it once, and then be done. So if I'd spent $50 or $60 on it at the store to own a copy, maybe I'd be more motivated to play it through. But as I shared, the Super 64 kind of gives that freedom to just say, I'm going to try something else. But it was fun, and controls were fairly easy. If memory serves me correctly, it was my 12th birthday, and I actually got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Had a few guys over, we hung out, and we played this all night long, and got pretty good at the mechanics. I'm a little rusty here playing this through, but I feel like got the memories coming back to me on this, and this is one of those games that I feel like you definitely could spend a good long while on. There's something special about it, and I guess that's why there's like an oversaturation of Tony Hawk games. They had 3 of them on the 64, but I'm impartial to this one. This was the best. Tony Hawk 3 was the last game that came out on the 64 console, and I actually have a copy of it now, and the graphics are good, but I just feel like this was kind of the peak moment in the Tony Hawk franchise. Other people may have other opinions. The Xbox console actually had the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X, which I really enjoyed. I've played that dozens of hours throughout my college and adult life, and it combines Tony Hawk 1 and 2, and then a few extra bonus levels that I'm sure wouldn't have fit on the limited cartridge size of the Nintendo 64, so that was cool. But this is also an expansion pack supported game, so the graphics are a little bit better with the expansion pack in the system. Now, in the case of emulation, I don't really know mechanically how that works. I notice when you turn the game on, it says expansion pack detected, but if I had a traditional jumper pack, I would be curious if that's in the emulation, which might be the case, or if it in fact somehow still does detect it, because I feel like with the emulator it's all software, right? It's not the same as plugging the cartridge directly into the system. I still got it, man. So this is the last Madden game that they released for the Nintendo 64, and yes, I am a Dallas Cowboys fan. I noticed that they don't have the coach's name listed there. I think this was right before Dave Campo got replaced by Bill Parcells. Those were better, moving from the uglier years to the better years for Cowboys fans after like 3, 5, and 11 seasons. Graphics look pretty good. This is another one of those later release titles. Felt like the gameplay mechanics were pretty easy to figure out. I wasn't having to like reach for instructions on how to play. I also like the Quarterback Club series, and we'll look at NFL Blitz later on the video too. Because why wouldn't you want your big defensive lineman to return your kick? Nice job, Brandon Noble. You weren't forgotten, buddy. Finally, Madden commentary kicks in, although Pat Summerall was a great partner to John. Wouldn't you agree? So the Mortal Kombat Trilogy game is another one of the original releases that came out pretty early on in the N64 era. I didn't play it all that much. It was another one of those ones that one of my friends down the street had and played it there. I do think from a multiplayer perspective, it's good. The graphics are way better than they were on the Sega Genesis, which I also played that version. But as you can see on the video, I wasn't very good. So, all in all, one of those arcade games you might throw a few quarters in for, but you gotta have the right friends over to have fun with this one. So here's Clay Fighter 63 and a third. I love that they were like inferring that it wasn't quite 64 already. So I played this really funny fighting game on the Sega Genesis, the Clay Fighter original, and I really enjoyed it. And I also had, I believe, the really limited edition of the Sculptor's Cut Clay Fighter, which is now worth a lot of money. But I gave it up, and I'm kind of kicking myself for that because I think it's worth like $30,000 these days. So I believe that was a Blockbuster exclusive. That's the reason why there were only like 10,000 copies in print or something. So I will admit I'm a Star Wars fan. I like most of the games. Shadows of the Empire is one of those earlier release titles that I think was in the million seller club, but it was a little too hodgepodgey for me. Like the going from air to land and just different, every level being a little bit different. I like uniformity in a title, and so this one kind of plays the Star Wars version of Star Fox, and at least this level. But I recall that there were also some hand-to-hand combat and kind of not quite first-person but third-person shooter moments in the game too. But it's, I don't know, I know I keep harping on it. If I'd spent $50 on the game, I'd be motivated to play it through, but Mario Party is definitely a game that you have to have the right friends or family over to play. I think it's more fun if you can talk trash and get competitive with one another. But as an individual just playing against computers in the year 2024, I was very quickly ready to be done with this one. Graphics are nice, the mini games are fun, but there's just something about the social element of these kind of games. That's why it's considered a party game. And that's no knock on the computers. It's just, I think, that desire we all have to be in community, you know? And if you don't, I mean, I encourage it.
I have a lot of fond memories of Mario Kart 64 with cousins and family and friends. This one was a great game, single player and multiplayer. The versus and the battle modes in the multiplayer, you could play a lot, and for 4 players to be able to play together, it was still kind of a novel concept in the mid-90s, because every other console, to my recollection, was just up to 2 players. And this was one that truly was a legit 4-player game, so it's fun. It holds up well. It was a good successor to the Super Nintendo flavor of Mario Kart, so I enjoyed busting this one back out. I think Midway and Nintendo had a really cool partnership going on in this era, and NFL Blitz was just a great platform sports game. It was fun to play in the arcade. I think I accidentally got headless mode activated as a cheat code when I was playing here. But it was great multiplayer, great single player. You would work your way down the list, beat each team as you go. So I remember owning a copy and playing a lot of this. And some things never changed. The Cowboys stunk at this time too. And I am allowed to say that because I am a Cowboys fan. But it's just fun. I like the obnoxious celebrations and taunts and everything that goes along with it. Good memories. Deion Sanders on offense. Like the real Dallas Cowboys. Super Mario 64. I don't think there's any denying this was the quintessential most important game on the 64. I don't think there's any real disputing it. Goldeneye might be a close second, but Mario was groundbreaking in many, many ways as their debut title. I never get tired of playing this one. I play it over and over. My kids enjoy it. I'm not real deep into any new versions of it, but 64 has just held up well, and I love all the conspiracy theories online about it. Everybody would like to see other levels, play this too.
I'd like to think that Donkey Kong 64 is the Rare Entertainment Company's attempt at a spiritual successor to Super Mario 64. Even some of the mechanics and controls are quite similar to Mario. Instead of stars, you're getting bananas. But I liked that you could play with different characters and the characters could use weapons and skills. So they took it to the next level. They kind of combined the best of Mario and 64 and I suppose later the Conker's Fur Day. Just, this was peak Rare. Donkey Kong, let's try. Here we go, let's go throwback Nintendo Hangtime style. Any of you guys like arcade? Rosters as of November 3rd. NBA Hangtime is another really early release port from the arcade to the 64, and I definitely enjoyed it. Chicago Bulls mid-90s, amazing. I don't think you could play as Michael Jordan. You could change Dennis Rodman's hair color, and I loved that. I think that was a feature ahead of its time, and for Rodman fans, it just makes sense. So it's green here. I liked that cartoon style animation. It was...
Come on, Dennis. Well, that was fun. Hope you enjoyed going down memory lane. And if you didn't go down memory lane, you learned a little something about Nintendo 64 gaming.